Welcome to our Traveling Thursday. It's the last one for this year, and you're joining our Christmas party at Flying Sea Dive Adventures tonight. So just a quick little go around. This is Adina here. Many of you have seen her. And this is Michelle right here.
Hi.
And there's Julie. And many of you also know Irene.
Hi.
So they will go and do their own thing while we start sharing our screen, and we will start our presentation. And welcome to our Traveling Thursday on December the 9th. I'm just going to go quickly through what we're doing tonight. So we'll do a few introductions and give you an idea of the world travel situation. Every 2 weeks I do this, and every time there's something different on it. We're doing a quick introduction to the Bahamas and about the Bahamas Master, and then we will learn about the dive sites in the Bahamas as well, all the different routes that the Bahamas Master is taking. We'll do a Q&A like we always do, and I know many of you are on this call today because you are waiting for our Fiji draw. So we will do that towards the end of the presentation. You also see 3 guys here on the screen that you don't normally recognize. Those are Alex and Mark in Thailand there with the Bahamas Master, and Ashley in the Bahamas. So welcome to you guys. And I'm just going to give a little rundown on who Flying Sea Dive Adventures is. You've seen these 5 faces live just now. And we are a dive travel company or a travel agency for scuba divers. And next year, we're celebrating our 25th year in business. There is a lot of combined experience between the 5 of us. There's pretty much nothing in the world of diving that we haven't done. Pretty much all major destinations, liveaboards, and resorts that we work with and have really good relationships with, including the people here at Master Liveaboards. We are IATA appointed, which means we can have control over airline tickets that we issue ourselves. And for most pieces, we don't need to be on hold with the airlines for hours on end. We do group trips, most of them through dive shops, and then individual trips where you want, how long you want, and where you want to go. And you've just seen Michelle and Irene. They are handling our individual trips. Adina and I are handling group trips, and then Julie counts all our money all the time, so she's super important as well. Where can you travel right now? This screen actually hasn't changed from 2 weeks ago, except that you can see the 2 destinations in red, which are the Cayman Islands and Fiji. They just opened. And so there's a lot of places, and I've only listed the dive destinations here. So yes, Fiji opened on December 1st, and this was the scene at the airport. People were welcomed like this. And usually when you get to Fiji, there's a little bit of a band playing, but not quite like this. What else is important to look at? Vaccinations, I've mentioned this numerous times, remain important. Here from Canada, you cannot get on a plane if you're not vaccinated. Testing continues to be important and changes all the time. So the US just changed its requirements that you need to be tested 24 hours prior to departure, no longer 72 hours. Yeah. Insurance remains an important factor, always has been for your trips, but now even more so. And masks, yeah, they're a fashion statement these days, and you need to always keep wearing them. I've added a little line here this time. Rules change all the time. And we try as much as we can to stay up to date with the rules, advising you sometimes a day before departure what the rules are going to be. One important piece for those of you who currently have a trip booked with us, you know about the digital itineraries that we provide. And if you haven't yet, you're getting an email that kind of looks like this. Flying Sea Dive Adventures sends via UMap, get ready for your trip. Then it will have a picture of an iconic site of where you're going and a link to where it says view your trip. When you click on it, you get our branded website for this. And there's a new link on there. I've circled this in red. It says travel requirements. And once you click on it, it will show you, or it's a tool where you yourself can check what are the rules for where I'm going. Not all destinations are on there yet. They're working on it. I checked Bonaire today and that wasn't on there, but the Maldives is on there, for example. So just another way that we try to keep you informed as much as possible on what's important for your trips. Of course, the little teaser here is that our grand prize will be drawn after our Q&A today, so hang tight. And your names are in a big bowl, however many entries you've had. So if you've attended all of our webinars, your name is in there several times, and that is towards the end. So now I am going to hand it over to Alex and Mark and Ashley, and we are traveling to the Bahamas. So Alex.
Great. So Petra's kind of introduced us already, but hello from myself, Alex, and Mark.
Hello.
We are in Thailand, and one thing to just add about your countries which are open, Thailand is open. So we're in the middle of high season here, so if you're interested in a diving holiday on the Junk or the Pinisi, get in touch with the team. You just need a PCR test, 72 hours before. You have one on arrival. You stay in your hotel room until you get your results back, which takes 6 hours or so. But it's really, really easy to get into Thailand at the moment. I did it a couple of weeks ago, if anyone remembers, after the Dima show. And then we've also got Ashley. Ashley is our operations manager in the Bahamas. So he knows anything and everything about the Bahamas. So he will take over after I've done my short spiel on the Book with Confidence policy, which you guys hopefully remember now. We took a lot of feedback from our customers over COVID and learned from what our competitors were doing, what we've been doing. And we're offering a Book with Confidence policy, which promises anyone who makes a new booking with us a cash refund if COVID gets in the way of your plans. We thought this was really important to restart kind of the dive travel industry on, for our boats, and give customers a confidence in the products that we offer, and some protection that may not be offered by other liveaboards out there. So do bear that in mind when you're looking for your next dive holiday. I'm going to pass you over to Ashley. Like I say, he's going to give you a rundown on the Bahamas, and firstly, kind of a general intro, and then onto the nitty-gritty boat and dive information. Over to you, Ashley.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening, everybody. So the Bahamas is best known for its shark diving. The archipelago of the Bahamas consists of just over 700 islands and keys. Some of them, literally as you can walk across in 2 minutes, and then some that are 100 plus miles long. But it really does have a bit of everything. It's best known for its shark diving. The location of the third largest barrier reef in the world. So it really does have a bit of everything. And everything is super healthy here in the Bahamas. We're really fortunate. A lot of sites are suffering from bleaching and whatnot, but everything here in the Bahamas is super healthy. From everything from macro up to the large pelagics, and then also blue holes. Caves are also a major attraction here in the Bahamas, both oceanside and land caves. Most people tend to think of the Yucatan and Mexico when they think about blue holes and cave diving, but the Bahamas is kind of a hidden gem when it comes to that. We also have a couple of sites which are kind of diving, kind of not. So you have Pig Beach, which is world famous. There's a few imitations that have sprung up around the world, and indeed here in the Bahamas. But the actual real Pig Beach down in the Exumas is something to see. It's pretty special. And then there's numerous sites from James Bond films for the film aficionados amongst you. You have Thunderball Grotto down by Staniel Key, also in the Exuma chain. And then over in Nassau, there's quite a few the intentional dive sites, artificial reefs that have been created. I don't know if those of you remember the old James Bond films where the divers going in super speedy motion and with their spear guns swimming around at unbelievable speeds. They were all filmed here in the Bahamas. So there really is everything that you could want to see on a dive expedition here in the Bahamas, including Rex. I didn't mention Rex. Getting in and out of the Bahamas is pretty easy now. You need a health visa. There's no normal regular visa required for those from pretty much all Western countries, including South America. There's no requirements if you're coming over from Russia or from anywhere in Africa. There's only a few countries in Asia that need to have visas to get in here in the Bahamas. But as it stands right now, you do need a health visa, but it's super simple. You just fill out a form online, you upload your vaccination certificate, and if you're not vaccinated, you just upload your PCR test. You pay a small fee, which also includes an insurance policy. So you know you're covered if anything does happen to you as a result of COVID whilst you're in the country. Aside from that, currency, the Bahamian currency is pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. They accept both Bahamian dollars and US dollars. The official language is English. We can arrange everything for you. So from the point of your booking, everything, we can take care of flights. We can also take care of transfers for you. And they are just a small extra charge, and it's a 10-minute ride from the airport to where the boat is in dock before and after the trips. The Bahamas.com is a really useful source of information for current current COVID requirements. It's changing constantly, but since we had an election here in the Bahamas last month, and things have been relaxed somewhat. Hopefully it doesn't go back in the other direction, but as we all know, COVID's pretty fluid. So onto the boat itself. We spent a lot of our COVID downtime doing a heck of a lot of work to the boat. All internal areas and external areas have been completely overhauled. So on board we have 10 cabins, and we're able to accommodate quite comfortably 18 divers. You can choose between 4 cabin types. So we have 2 premium cabins, which are up at near to the bow of the boat. Both have, or one has a king size bed. The other has a double. And we also have 2 single cabins, which are newly being created. And then we also have 2 classic cabins. All of those that I just mentioned are en suite. And then we also have 4 standard cabins, and they have sort of Jack and Jill style bathrooms, so that it's one bathroom between 2 cabins. All the cabins you can see on the image there. Just if you look along the midship, you can see the large windows. All the cabins have that style window, except for cabin 7 and cabin 8, which are the premiums. They have much larger windows, so you get some really nice views in the morning. You can see the large panoramic windows at the side. You can see in particular cabin 8 has the 3 big windows up towards the bow of the boat there. The boat itself has lots of public areas, so you can see the sun deck there at the back, and then just under the canopy there is where we have our dining area. So the dining is all al fresco. Taking feedback from our previous guests, as Alex mentioned, we've now enclosed that back section there. So during the winter months, it can get a little bit chilly, and even in the summer, it can get a little bit chilly here in the Bahamas. So we now have that's enclosed with isinglass or plastics type sheeting to keep it all nice and warm. And then we have a nice big open galley, which is underneath the front section there, the darker section. So here we have cabin 7. It's one of our premium cabins. So you can see the cabin actually has a double bed and a single. The perspective is slightly off on that, so it's a single bed rather than 2 doubles there. And it also has an ensuite bathroom. This is one of our standard cabins with a shared bathroom. All the cabins have a dual bed layout like that. So there's no bunk beds. we try to stay away from that. As you can see, there's plenty of storage. You have your own integral basin in the cabin, and then a shared bathroom. All of the cabins have been completely refurbished, and they all now look more like this. So with this color scheme, with the darker wood and the sort of straw-colored walls, these are our new single cabins. Really nice size. The beds in these cabins are actually also slightly larger than the other cabins. These are a standard twin size, whereas the other cabins have a narrow twin to have a little bit more room. We have our new galley. So this is completely new. The galley used to be down in the bows of the ship, and the chef was on his own all day with no sunlight, nobody for company except the occasional passing crew member. So now we have a nice big open galley, primarily just because it's a better use of the space, but it's also nice so you can see the food being prepared. We take pride in the cleanliness of our galley across all of our boats throughout the fleet. And the fresh food that we prepare. So you can pass by and have a chat with the chef and see what's coming for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We also have a camera room or a salon closer to the bow. We've got 2 nice big sofas in there. And as you can see, just next to the stairs there's ample space for people to store their cameras. And then each guest has access to a bin or a drawer, which is just under the cabin there, to keep any camera items that you might, GoPros, batteries, chargers, lenses, etc., and plenty of charging stations. We have a tender, which we bring with us. So for certain dives, most of the dives we do are off the main vessel. But for some locations which are a little bit harder to reach or might be a little bit shallower, we use our tender, and we also have a rib which we keep on the roof of the boat there. But we can comfortably fit 8 guests in the tender here. And she's pretty quick, 250 horsepower engines. We've got the boat has integral stations, so your tanks lock in nice and securely. And we do our backward rolls, and we have a ladder that comes up over the side. You can't quite see it in that picture, but there is a ladder on the other side for easy exit after your dive. So we offer 4 different itineraries. The mainstay, our most common 2 itineraries are Tiger Beach and the Hammerhead and Tiger Shark experience. So our 5 and 7 night trips at Tiger Beach are exactly that. So Tiger Beach is it's a 20 nautical mile area. So it's not just one small part. And Tiger Beach is off the north west end of Grand Bahama. You can see on the little map there. It takes us around about 6 hours to get there from our home port in Freeport. And there's lots to do there. It's not just the baited or the feeding dives. We have mini wall. We have the drop off down into the into the ocean, into the Atlantic Ocean. And we have Mount Olympus, which is perhaps one of the more famous sites there. It's essentially just a giant pinnacle. You wouldn't know it was a pinnacle unless we told you that. It drops down around about 4,000 feet. And you could spend 5-6 dives and still not cover it all. And it's really nice. It's super healthy. You get the Gulf Stream hits it, brings in all the nutrients. You often see hammerheads around, but they're typically a little bit deeper, around about 40 meters. But we often get hammerheads coming up to check everybody out. But the reef there is super healthy. It's one of my favorite sites. So it's not just staying in the sand. We also offer our Rex Blue Holes and Sharks experience, where we cover a bit more of everything. So for that trip, we typically will also go to Bimini, to Andros, and to Nassau. And then we have our Ultimate Bahamas experience, where we cover a bit of everything. You can see we cover a significant distance there. And that's everything from Grand Bahama, Andros, Nassau. We'll go down to Pig Beach. We'll go and see the oceanic whitetips in Cat Island. And we'll cut up and see some more interesting sites on the way back to Freeport. The Tiger Beach, as I said, I just kind of wanted to stress that it's not just kneeling in the sand staring at sharks, because that's not for everybody. But the baited feeding that we do is typically pretty shallow, between 8 and 10 meters. Visibility is typically amazing. We tend to do the feeding dives in the morning, which is when the visibility is typically best. You get the sunlight coming through, just like you can see in this image here. we can almost guarantee, and there's not many things in nature that you can guarantee, but we can almost guarantee that you're going to be as close to the tiger sharks as you are right now in front of your computer, which is pretty cool. There's not many places in the world that you're able to do that. Certainly not with as many species of shark. You'll have the tigers, you'll have the lemons, you'll have the ocean. You'll have the bull sharks and plenty of reef sharks. On our hammerhead and tiger experience, so we also tend to go over to Bimini. So Bimini is traditionally known as the place to see the hammerheads. We also see them now at Tiger Beach, but typically only one or two. Whereas if we go over to Bimini, we'll see them in greater numbers. Bimini is also really nice. There's two really nice wrecks there. We've also got the SS Sapona, which is a half-sunken bulk carrier, so it's really, really healthy, particularly for night dives. You get all the little critters hanging out there, taking shelter inside, and we can dive through. It's a strange one to see. You wouldn't think it was a dive site. You'd think it was more a snorkeling site. It's only around about 4 meters at the deepest point, but that's enough, and you see so much life. You'll also see, as you can see in this image here, there are 3 tiger sharks there. There's a black tip reef shark, and then you can also see behind the feeder there, there's a great hammerhead shark there as well. So you really do see all these things, all these animals in close proximity and at the same time, which is super unusual. They tend not to come together in many places in the world. I mean, if they do, they're going to be pretty far apart. The smaller species tend to stay in the periphery, but in the Bahamas, they all come in. It's not, the feeding that we do is not the chaotic scenes that perhaps you might have seen on YouTube with chainmail and sharks coming in left, right, and center, and it's they're going crazy. We, not through our own design, I guess, but the feeding dives at the Bahamas are a lot more chilled out. So the animals typically come in one by one. We think it's to do with their own hierarchy, their own hierarchy, basically. They come in one by one, and the best way I like to describe it to people when we're doing our briefings on the boat is if you're near an airport at nighttime, and you can see the planes coming in, you see the flashing lights, you'll see one, and then 1 mile back you'll see another, and then another mile back you'll see another, and that's how the sharks come in. They come in one by one. The only time they'll come in en masse is if we do a floating crate. So sometimes we'll have a crate that's weighted down and then with a buoy on top, so the crate suspends mid-water, and then the tigers come in en masse. When we're feeding, they only ever come in one by one. We don't really know why. There's a lot we don't know about the tiger sharks here at Tiger Beach and in the Bahamas. We know they come here to give birth, so all of the sharks you see are female. Exclusively, you don't see male sharks here. Nobody knows where they give birth, but that's something that people are looking into. So onto our Rex blue holes and sharks experience, and then we'll head down to the southwest coast of New Providence. We have a blue hole there, which is known as the Lost Blue Hole, which is where this image here was taken. The temperature within the hole is typically 2 or 3 degrees lower. So even in times where you wouldn't typically see hammerheads, you'll often see them in the hole. The shark species tend to prefer the cooler water. I've never been to this particular site and not seen a hammer. You see scores and scores of rays, lots of turtles. It bottoms out around about 70 meters. Typically, we won't go much deeper than 30, 35. And it's one of those nice blue holes where you can see the entire the circumference of the hole, as you can see in that image there. Also in Nassau, we have the James Bond wrecks, as I mentioned. Nassau is a whole treasure trove of intentionally sunken and also non-intentionally sunken vessels. All of the James Bond wrecks obviously are intentionally sunken. We don't do any feeding in Nassau, but we often will put a bait box on the reefs just to try and make sure that you do get some good shark action. But even without bait, all of the wrecks there are really well inhabited by lots of marine life. You see lots of lionfish, turtles, barracuda, and then all the other tropical reef fish that you come to expect to see in these locations. As I mentioned, the ultimate Bahamas experience, you really do see a bit of everything. I guess one of the major pulls is Pig Beach. It's pretty cool. It's one of the very few places, well, in fact, the only as far as I'm aware. Nobody really knows where these pigs came from. They're not owned by anybody. They are looked after. There's some guides from Staniel Key, the yacht club over the way. They've set up a little hut to keep for the babies for when the sun it gets really hot. There's no shelter apart from this artificial structure that they've built. So we do Pig Beach, but you also get to see the oceanic white tips. So our ultimate Bahamas experience is the only itinerary where we will go to Cat Island, and we only go at certain times of year because that's when the animals are making their crossing. And we'll do blue water diving with the oceanic white tips, which is pretty cool. Andros is known really as the blue hole capital of the Bahamas and indeed of the world. It has the third largest barrier reef that runs across it, and has more than 150 blue holes inland and offshore. We typically visit King Kong Blue Hole, which nobody actually knows how deep it is. It was explored down to 156 meters, and nobody's actually been any further. It goes down it's not a straight down; it goes down at an angle, and as you go down, the ceiling is covered in a lot of algae. So as you're going down, if you turn around, the percolation from your bubbles sets off the algae and it looks like it's snowing. It's really, really pretty. And you always get the light coming through. It's a really nice sight. And then on the top, you have a halocline, as you can see. One of my colleagues, Ferg, there, hovering above the halocline just before we drop down into the blue hole. It's a really, really nice sight. We'll often do an open pool session at King Kong Blue Hole. So we'll give you a guided tour, and then we open up the dive deck so you can come and go as you please and explore all the little crevices and nooks and crannies. Obviously not going too deep. Pig Beach we covered already, but it's a pretty special site. We also just away from Pig Beach we have Thunderball Grotto, which I touched on briefly. We typically don't dive it just because it can be with the way the currents come in around Big Major Key, they can be pretty strong. So we tend to snorkel that, but it's really nice. You go in through a tiny little hole, and then it opens up into this big cavern, which you may remember from Thunderball, the movie. That's why it's called Thunderball Grotto, unsurprisingly. There's normally a decent amount of turtles in there and some rays, but it's mostly the topography. The rock formation is really, really pretty, and then there's a hole in the top, and the light comes through, and it's really nice for pictures above and below the water. Cat Island, as I said, we only visit on our ultimate Bahamas itineraries. It's a really long sail. And again, as Alex said and as I said, we take feedback from our guests, and so we've now rejigged our ultimate Bahamas itinerary, so you actually only lose half a day of diving throughout the entire 14 nights, because all the other sailing is done overnight, and we've I designed the itinerary in such a way that we'll stop off at places all around, just to means that you get if you come away with us, you're coming away to dive, not to sit on the boat. So Cat Island is really out of the way of everything else. That's why we only visit it on the ultimate Bahamas trip. But it's a really, really cool experience. You'll often see pilot whales crossing up through the tongue of the ocean, and also the oceanic white tips. We don't feed them. We take a bait box down and we do blue water diving. So you're suspended around about 15 meters. It drops down a couple of thousand feet. But yeah, so we'll be hovering around about 15 meters over the blue water, and it doesn't normally take long for the oceanic white tips to show up. We heavily chum the water. We make up some really nice soup several days in advance, so that when we're ready to use it, it's pretty pungent, and it brings in. We'll normally have maybe 6 to 10 on a normal day, and on a really good day, we can have anything up to 15 oceanic white tips milling around. They're a lot more curious than the other species of shark, so you really do get up close and personal with them, and it's a really cool experience. So the day-to-day itinerary on Bahamas Master, it varies depending on the itinerary. So if we're at Tiger Beach, day one, we embark, we welcome everybody on board, we'll do all of our paperwork. And then we'll just do, if it's a predominantly a Tiger Beach trip, you'll get your one dive briefing, where we go through everything in detail. It takes a couple of hours. We have a very detailed presentation focusing on safety, given the type of diving that we're doing there at Tiger Beach, and at Bimini. It's super important that everybody understands the safety aspect of things. So it's a very detailed, quite a long briefing, just to make sure everybody fully understands what's going on. And then that will typically serve as your only briefing. We'll give shorter ones if we go off and do other things. As I mentioned, we'll do Mount Olympus or Mini Wall, for example, and then we'll give a shorter briefing there. But typically you'll get one big briefing, and then we'll spend the rest of the time diving. The days themselves are varied, but typically you'll always get 4 dives. And then on any trip, you can expect to do 3 or 4 night dives as well. So you get a minimum of 4 dives a day. And on several occasions throughout the trip, you'll get at least 5.
Ashley, thanks so much.
Yes.
That was awesome. That was really, really good. Thank you. Petra, I think we're going to hand over to you for the video.
And we are going to go into our Q&A, which Irene is going to monitor. So I'm just going to encourage you to put your questions into the chat, ask away, and then between Ashley and the guys in Thailand, I'm sure that we can answer most of your questions. Irene, do you want to take it away?
Sure. We've got a couple questions so far. The first one is from Helen, is asking how many dives per day?
So how many dives a day? So at least 4. On we don't like to sort of put a number on how many night dives we do. Depends on how people are feeling and what the weather is like and where we are. But at least 4, and then on some occasions throughout the trip, there'll be 5.
Also, is spearfishing for lionfish permitted?
Some people take quite a strong view on killing things in the ocean, regardless of whether they're supposed to be there or not. So typically we say no. Typically when guests are around, we don't allow you to. But it's also a safety consideration as well, because fresh fish blood really drives the sharks crazy, and so it would be kind of a safety issue to have you going around with a mesh bag that's kind of bleeding heavily whilst there's lots of sharks in the water. So no is the answer to that one.
Okay. So speaking of safety, are there any extra safety precautions needed with the oceanic whitetips?
No. So we give a very, very detailed briefing. There's certain requirements that we have for guests to come out with us. So we insist on a full, we call it ninja suit. So you have to have a dark wetsuit, gloves, and a hood. We don't allow bright, high contrast colored items. So for example, if you had a pink BCD, you'd need to either get another one or rent one from us, or any very high contrast colors. If anybody was thinking of booking a trip with us, Alex and his team have a nice PDF document that has all the sort of the examples of what wouldn't be allowed and what would be ideal. But it's nothing that's kind of onerous or really affects your diving.
And Andrew is asking, is nitrox available?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So on the Bahamas boat, we have 2 high pressure air compressors, and then we also have a membrane system, and we can produce nitrox.
Sally is asking, is there a minimum number of dives required or level of certification?
So typically we say a minimum 50 dives or advanced open water or equivalent. Somebody who has 20 dives may be worlds apart from somebody who has 200 dives. It's kind of specific. So whilst that's what we say, you can always speak to the sales team and let us know, what your kind of diving experience is. If you've done 10 dives in northern Canada, I dare say you're probably going to be a better diver than somebody who has done 50 dives from a cruise ship. So typically we say 50 or advanced open water, but you can always speak to the sales team and let us know what your experience is, and then we can kind of make a decision based on that.
We have a question. When is hurricane season?
So hurricane season runs from the 1st of June through till November. It's off-season time for us, but obviously we had Hurricane Dorian in 2019, which was pretty catastrophic, but they're pretty rare occurrences. The weather is pretty standard year-round. Even when you do have a Category 1 comes through or a heavy storm, it's not too bad, and we know they're coming. So if the boat is out, we have certain procedures that we follow in certain areas we can go to for safe haven. But in answer to the question, it runs through from June through till November.
So Phil is asking, are there decompression chambers on the islands?
Yes, there are 2 in Nassau. Yeah.
Carly is asking, shorty suits. I dive Cocos and the Sea of Cortez in a shorty. So I guess water temperature and what's the exposure suit that you recommend?
If we're diving at Tiger Beach, then we insist on full exposure protection. So we don't want any skin on display, and that's the safety precaution for when we're diving with the great hammers and the tiger sharks. So a 3 mil would be fine. Depends on the time of year you come. So in the summer months, a 3 mil is fine. During peak shark season, so from kind of October through till March, you're probably going to want a 5 mil. And it kind of sounds a little bit strange. The crew will all be in 5 or 7 mils during that time. The first couple of dives, you'll be okay. But as I'm sure many of you know that have been on Liveaboards, with repetitive diving, your core temperature gradually goes down and down throughout the day. And even though the water is going to be 21 to 22 Celsius, that's significantly colder than your body core temperature. So if you're doing a 7-night trip and you're doing 4 or 5 dives a day, after the third or fourth day, you're typically going to start to feel the cold. And even if you can't feel it, you'll end up with a cold or you get sick. And so it is better to have a slightly thicker suit. Even if you can't necessarily feel the cold, your body will feel it. So for the non-feeding dives, a shorty is fine. You can wear a rash vest and shorts if you like, if you're warm enough. But for the feeding dives, we do insist on full exposure. So that's hoods, gloves, and a full wetsuit.
Craig is asking, sounds like gloves are allowed or required?
That's correct, yeah. So for the feeding dives, gloves are indeed required, yeah.
Perfect. So the moment I think most of you have been waiting for, we're popping the champagne shortly, because now we are going to move into what you guys are waiting for. Every presentation you've been on, you got 1 entry, except if you were on the Fiji presentation a few months ago, you actually have 3 entries for that. And we also have Simon from Volley Beach Resort on our presentation tonight. He's watching this. I am going to stop sharing my screen, and we're actually turning the camera around, because we're doing this the old-fashioned way. We actually have a bowl. Bring the bowl a little closer so we can see it. So all the entries are in there, see? So it's the old-fashioned way. And do you want to pop the champagne before we... Yeah. When we draw. All right. So we decided that we will give Julie, our accountant, the honor of actually drawing the name, because she does everything accurately to the penny. So there's no fudging now. So drum roll if you have one. Yeah, I'm going to hold it. We're going? We're going. 1, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. My eyes shut. 2, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Oh, the suspense. All right.
There it is.
Here it is. You read it off.
Ron Arstad.
Ron, are you here? I do not know if he's here.
I believe he was here.
Is?
Yes.
Okay. Ron, can you put something in the chat if you're here?
Hello.
Oh, there he is. Yay.
Congratulations, Ron.
Thank you. This is awesome. So excited.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We will be in touch with you
Perfect.
for more
Gosh.
details.
All right. We're going to Fiji.
So now you can mute yourself again, Ron. That would be good.
Okay. Probably should do that.
There's a party going on there too.
There might be, yes.
Oh my goodness.
And we will see you, hopefully all of you, back here in January. January 13th is when we are going to be going to Honduras, Roatan with Anthony Ski. And so from all of us at Fly and See, we all wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you for your business. We hope we've earned it this year and in the years to come. And so congratulations, Ron, again, a Merry Christmas from all of us.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you next year.